Hugh Jackman, Wolverine, will be deposed. And I suspect that that might be making Ryan Reynolds extremely nervous, and I'll tell you why. They want the judge to agree to an attorney's eyes only designation to protect, as they term it, highly confidential information that could destroy the careers of the third-party people that are involved.
Ryan Reynolds fired from Marvel say it ain't so. Yup. The man behind the Merc with a mouth is reportedly out after a major behind-the-scenes controversy first. There's the $400 million lawsuit involving his wife Blake Lively and director Justin Baldoni, and then a joke in Deadpool 3 that apparently crossed the line. Marvel allegedly cut the joke, Reynolds fought back, and Disney, well, they weren't having it now. Rumors say Disney is phasing him out, reducing his creative control, toning down Deadpool's edgy humor, and even considering a multiverse Deadpool replacement. Some insiders claim Marvel could introduce a new Deadpool from another timeline, one that fits Disney's family-friendly brand.
Oh, honey. Ryan Reynolds might have just fumbled the biggest bag of his career, and now he's pointing fingers. But the gag is, he's not blaming his wife Blake Lively, or even the director that started this whole mess. Nope, he's coming for his longtime bestie, Hugh Jackman. That's right, word on the street is that Ryan has officially been fired from his iconic role as Deadpool, and the bombshell is that it wasn't some petty decision from a mid-level executive. No. This came from the very top, Disney itself. The parent company of Marvel just slammed the door on one of their most profitable stars, and Ryan is spiraling. But here's the juicy twist. While fans are dragging Blake online for dragging Ryan into this PR nightmare, he has turned his rage toward Hugh Jackman. Yes, Hugh freaking Jackman, the same man who once called Ryan his brother. Ryan's reportedly fuming that Hugh didn't speak up for him. He thought Hugh would step in and fight for his job. Instead, Hugh stayed silent, focused on saving his own neck. And Ryan? He feels betrayed. Like, how did we even get here? Let's rewind. So this whole thing exploded thanks to an ongoing public feud between Blake Lively and It Ends With Us director Justin Baldoni. It's messy, it's scandalous, it's Hollywood at its most chaotic. And somehow, Ryan ended up right in the middle of it, just trying to defend his wife, and boom, Marvel cut him loose. Now, to be fair, Ryan was just trying to be a good husband. But let's be real. When you're married to someone as high profile as Blake, and when the scandal looks this bad, maybe, just maybe, there were smarter ways to support her without nuking your whole career. The internet sure thinks so. But why would Disney even care enough to fire him over drama? Let me break it down for you. Every single actor under Disney, whether it's Marvel, ABC, whatever, has to sign something called a morality clause. And oh honey, Disney's morality clause is no joke. This clause basically says, if you embarrass us, make us look bad, or get into any scandal that causes public backlash, we can fire you, period, no discussion. And the language in these contracts is super vague. We're talking words like public disrepute, and scandal, and humiliation. That gives Disney the power to fire anyone they feel is tarnishing their squeaky clean image. Let's not forget, they've done this before. Remember when ABC News anchors Amy Robach and TJ Holmes were caught in a workplace affair? Boom, fired. Or when Halle Bailey got snubbed from major awards after starring in The Little Mermaid just because she had a baby out of wedlock. Disney straight up refused to push her for an Oscar campaign because it clashed with their family-friendly brand. So yeah, it's not wild to believe that they'd dump Ryan Reynolds the minute his name got tangled up in this Baldoni mess, especially since the drama keeps escalating. But wait, it gets even spicier. Apparently, Justin Baldoni didn't just stop at beefing with Blake. Oh no, he took it legal. He filed a motion in court saying that Disney and Ryan used the Deadpool character to bully him. Y'all, it's wild. Baldoni's legal team accused Ryan of using a new Deadpool variant, Nicepool, as a direct jab. Why? Because in the film, Ryan's character mocks intimacy coordinators and praises a female character for bouncing back after having a baby. Baldoni thinks that's a dig at his own public feminist branding during the It Ends With Us promotion. In fact, Baldoni's lawyer fired off a letter to both Marvel boss Kevin Feige and Disney CEO Bob Iger, demanding they preserve any emails, notes, or footage that shows this was a calculated attack. The letter even hints at potential claims for civil extortion. Like, what? So yeah, between the legal threats and the never-ending PR nightmare, Disney had enough. And instead of standing by Ryan, they booted him. Hard. What's worse? this isn't even the first time Disney's had issues with him. According to insiders, Ryan's sky-high paychecks have been rubbing execs the wrong way for years. He reportedly made $30 million for Deadpool vs. Wolverine, plus back-end profit cuts. And let's not forget his $20+ million checks for the first 2 Deadpools. When you stack that on top of a morality clause violation, honey, they didn't just fire him, they wanted to. Insiders started whispering days ago. One tweet lit the fire. Heard Ryan Reynolds got fired by Marvel for using Deadpool and Wolverine to mock and bully another director. Hope that's true. Finally, no more Green Lantern jokes. And while the internet went crazy, Ryan stayed quiet. But behind the scenes, he was reportedly livid. And no, not at Blake, not even at Baldoni. He was heartbroken. Over Hugh Jackman. Because Hugh didn't say a word. No support, no statement, no public defense, just silence. And to Ryan, that silence was the loudest betrayal of all. So imagine being Ryan Reynolds. You're watching your career. Ryan reportedly expected Hugh to step up. Not just because they've worked together, not just because they played off each other in Deadpool vs. Wolverine, but because they were real-life brothers in arms. These two had one of the most iconic bromances in Hollywood. They roasted each other online, did charity campaigns together, shared holidays. It was genuine love. But when the fire got hot, Hugh dipped. No calls, no support, no nothing. In fact, insiders say Hugh quietly distanced himself from Ryan the second the scandal started heating up. Almost like he knew where this was going and didn't want to get dragged down with him. And now, Ryan feels completely abandoned. Honestly, can you even blame him? Let's be real. Ryan was already losing sleep over Blake being dragged for filth online. The woman has so many skeletons in her closet that fans are practically doing a full-blown excavation. And it's not just about the Baldoni fight anymore. Let's talk about that plantation wedding. Yes, that. Back in the day, Blake and Ryan thought it would be romantic to get married at the Boone Hall Plantation in South Carolina. A literal plantation, a site where enslaved people once suffered and died. And they treated it like a Pinterest backdrop. Fans were furious. And now that all this new drama is popping off, people are revisiting that dark chapter and asking how 2 supposedly woke celebrities thought that was okay.
In 2012, Blake and Ryan did indeed get married at a plantation in South Carolina, which features 9 slave cabins and an area called Slave Street. It was owned by the Boone family, who enslaved around 100 people, forced them to live in these cabins, and made them work on the plantation. It was then taken over by the Horlbeck family, who at the time purchased both the plantation and the enslaved people. The enslaved people were then forced to work for the Horlbeck's brick company, and it's recorded that each enslaved person was forced to make 1 brick every 3 minutes for 365 days a year. Boone Hall has 9 slave cabins in total, which have been preserved so that people can come along and be educated about the horrors that Black Americans faced.
And sure, Ryan did apologize later. He admitted it was a massive mistake, and they even had a second wedding at home to try and make it right. But fans are still giving them the side eye.
All of this brouhaha around Blake Lively right now made me want to revisit the plantation wedding controversy because I don't think it's been explained well in the media. So Blake and Ryan got married at the Boone Hall plantation in South Carolina in the United States. This plantation appeared in the film The Notebook as the main character Allie's family's summer home. Now, plantations in the USA and other former British colonies in the Americas have a dark history. To make a long story short, in the early 17th century, English settlers were offered large plots of land as a reward for exploring these uncharted territories, which were the Americas. These plots of land were cultivated to produce agriculture and eventually became plantations. To maintain the plantations, settlers bought people from West Africa and trafficked them to the Americas, but they were enslaved and used as free manpower to enrich the settlers. After the Civil War in America, the plantation system essentially collapsed, partially because of the end of all that free labor. Now, in the modern era, some of the plantation homes that remain were transformed into historic sites for people to visit and learn about. This one, which was Thomas Jefferson's home. Dr. Etta Fields Black, professor of history at Carnegie Mellon University, states that a plantation must interpret the entire history of all of the people who lived on the property. In other words, don't just show this without any discussion of this. Talk about the full history. However, she also said that this shouldn't deter anybody from appreciating the antebellum architecture of plantation homes or the gardens surrounding them, because it may provide a chance to spotlight the beautiful work of the enslaved crafters that has been largely erased from architectural history. So yes, go ahead, look and learn about plantations. But should you get married at one? Some want the antebellum aesthetic without having to think about what might have gone into building that aesthetic.
Ryan said, "It's impossible to reconcile what we saw at the time as a wedding venue with what we know now. It was a giant effing mistake." He called it a shameful decision. And okay, points for growth. But when the internet is already mad at you, they don't just forgive and forget. And Blake? Oh, honey, she's got even more drama in her past. Let's talk about her very strange, very sus connection to Harvey Weinstein. Before his downfall, Blake was reportedly super close to him. Like, red carpet after red carpet, close. Bloggers even called it out back in 2009, saying she looked like Harvey's latest project. That's already a yikes. But when Harvey finally got exposed for the monster he is, and dozens of brave women came forward, Blake had nothing to say. In fact, she tried to distance herself and said she'd never had that experience. Okay, that might be true, but girl, the moment wasn't about you. Where was the empathy for other women? And then came her next PR nightmare, Woody Allen. Yes, in 2016, Blake Lively, knowing full well about the long-standing, deeply disturbing allegations against Woody Allen, decided to star in his movie Cafe Society. Like, what?
Here, I want to ask you about this avalanche of information that's coming out about Harvey Weinstein, because the question is, I mean, you're in the industry. How do you think Hollywood moves on from this point? How do you think it can seize this moment and turn it into something positive?
I think it's important that we acknowledge that this isn't just Hollywood. This is so much more global, and it's not just, oh, guess what? This is what's happening to women suddenly. This has been happening since the beginning of time, but now people are finally talking about it. And I think that that's what's important, is that where I never had experiences like this with Harvey myself. I only had positive ones with him, but but that goes to show where, you know, you don't always see what's going on behind closed doors. So I think that when people come forward, that your bosses, you have to acknowledge it. You know, there have been moments where I've come forward, where other people have come forward with things that just feel little and you're not sure. But when your bosses tell you that this is not a priority to them, then you think, okay, well then this must not be that big of a deal. Maybe what I'm complaining about isn't really that big of a deal, and it is.
And you're right, that's every single workplace.
Yep.
She defended him, called him empowering to women. People were speechless. And when Ronan Farrow, Woody's own son, slammed the industry for supporting his father, Blake just danced around the issue with vague PR-safe comments. So yeah, this isn't just about Baldoni anymore. This is about years of red flags. And now Ryan's paying the price for all of it. And honestly, Hugh Jackman distancing himself might have been the smartest move he's ever made. But now we're all asking, was Hugh Jackman wrong for keeping his distance? Or did he do what he had to do to protect himself? Should he have stood up for Ryan? Or is loyalty in Hollywood just a fantasy? And more importantly, was Disney right to fire Ryan Reynolds? Or did they go too far? Let me know what y'all think, because this drama is far from over.